Michael Carter was a 28-year-old delivery driver living in Chicago, USA. He lived a simple life, struggling to pay rent, helping his sick mother, and trying to stay honest in a world that often punished honesty. One cold evening, Michael was delivering packages to a luxury apartment building. The marble floors, silent elevators, and expensive doors made him feel like he belonged to a different world, a world he would never enter. As he stepped out of the elevator on the 12th floor, he noticed something strange near the fire exit. A brown envelope. It was thick, heavy, and sealed. Michael looked around. The hallway was empty. No cameras were visible. He bent down and picked it up. The envelope slightly opened from one side, and what he saw made his heart stop. Stacks of cash. A lot of cash. His hands started shaking. This could change everything, he whispered. With this money, he could pay off his mother's medical bills, clear his debts, quit his exhausting job. No one was there. No one would know. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was the hospital. "Mr. Carter," the nurse said softly, "your mother's condition has worsened. We need payment for the next treatment. Urgently." Michael looked again at the envelope. The hallway felt smaller. His breathing got heavier. This was not just money anymore. This was a test. And Michael knew. Whatever he decided in the next few minutes would change his life forever. Michael Carter stood frozen in the silent hallway. The nurse's words kept echoing in his head. "Urgently." He pressed the phone to his ear and forced his voice to stay calm. "I'll arrange the payment," he said, though he had no idea how. The call ended. Michael leaned against the wall, staring at the envelope in his hands. His fingers tightened around it. For the first time in years, life had placed a shortcut right in front of him. No one would blame me, he thought. Anyone in my place would do the same. He slowly opened the envelope completely. Inside were neatly arranged bundles of cash and a folded document. His eyes moved to the paper. It was a legal contract. At the top, bold letters read, "Confidential settlement. Do not discard." Michael's chest tightened. He read further and his face turned pale. The money, $250,000, was part of a settlement meant for a family who had lost their son in a construction accident caused by corporate negligence. The envelope had been mistakenly delivered to the wrong address. Michael closed his eyes. This money was not just unclaimed cash. It was someone else's pain, someone else's justice. His phone buzzed again, a text message from the hospital. "Final reminder, without payment, treatment will be delayed." Tears filled Michael's eyes. He remembered his father's last words before passing away. "If honesty costs you everything, pay the price, because dishonesty costs more." Michael took a deep breath. He walked straight to the building's front desk and placed the envelope on the counter. "I found this upstairs," he said. "It doesn't belong to me." The receptionist looked inside, and her eyes widened. This is serious," she whispered, and immediately called building management. Michael signed a report, gave his details, and walked out. Outside, the cold wind hit his face. His hands were empty. His pockets were empty. So was his hope. That night, Michael sat beside his mother's hospital bed, hiding his tears. He held her hand and whispered, "I tried to do the right thing." She opened her eyes weakly and smiled. "That's enough for me." 3 days later, Michael was called into the hospital office. He expected bad news. Instead, a well-dressed man stood up as he entered. "Mr. Carter?" "Yes, my name is David Reynolds, legal director of Reynolds Construction." Michael's heart dropped. "We've been searching for the person who returned that envelope," David continued. "That money reached the family because of you." David paused, then slid a folder across the table. "Your honesty saved us from a lawsuit disaster, and more importantly, it restored faith." Michael opened the folder. Inside was a letter and a check. $300,000 full medical sponsorship for his mother, a permanent job offer with the company. Michael couldn't speak. David smiled softly. "In this world, honest people are rare. When we find one, we don't let them go." Michael felt his chest tighten as tears rolled down his face. What he lost in one moment of honesty came back multiplied. And this was only the beginning. Michael Carter's life changed overnight. New job, respect, his mother's treatment fully covered. But honesty has enemies, especially when success comes without shortcuts. At Reynolds Construction, Michael was given a junior compliance role. He wasn't powerful, but his position gave him access to internal reports. His job was simple: check deliveries, settlements, and safety files for errors. On his first week, something felt wrong. Numbers didn't match, dates were altered, signatures looked copied. Michael stayed late, reviewing files again and again, then he found it. A hidden report proving that another construction accident had been covered up just months ago. A worker had died. The family was paid quietly. No investigation, no justice. Michael's stomach turned. The name approving the file shocked him. David Reynolds, the same man who had rewarded him. Michael leaned back in his chair. If I stay quiet, he thought, I keep my job, my mother's treatment, everything. But if he spoke up, he remembered the envelope. He remembered the hallway. He remembered the test. The next morning, Michael requested a private meeting with David. David listened silently as Michael placed the report on the table. This was hidden, Michael said calmly. It's wrong. The room went cold. David's face hardened. You're new, David said slowly. You don't understand how the real world works. Michael stood up. I understand enough. That same evening, Michael received an email. Termination notice, immediate effect. Access revoked. By night, another blow came. The hospital called. Mr. Carter, we've been informed that the sponsorship has been withdrawn. Michael felt the ground disappear beneath him. Within 24 hours, he lost his job, his security, his protection, all because he chose honesty again. Outside the hospital, rain poured down as Michael sat alone on a bench. No reward this time, he whispered. But across the street, a woman had been watching him. She slowly walked toward him and spoke. Michael Carter? Yes. My name is Sarah Whitman. I'm a federal investigator. Michael froze. She held up a badge. And what you just lost might be the reason thousands of families get justice. Michael's heart started racing. Sarah leaned closer and said quietly, We've been looking for someone clean on the inside. Michael Carter sat inside a quiet government office. No luxury, no comfort, just truth. Across the table sat Sarah Whitman and two senior federal officers. Files were stacked high, thick with lies. For months, Sarah said, we suspected Reynolds Construction, but we needed someone inside who wouldn't break. Michael looked down at his hands. They took everything from me, he said. My job, my mother's treatment. Sarah nodded. And you still didn't lie. Michael agreed to cooperate. He handed over emails, copies of reports, and internal access logs he had secretly saved before termination. Within weeks, federal raids, frozen bank accounts. Executives arrested. David Reynolds was taken away in handcuffs, his face empty, shocked. At the trial, Michael was called as a key witness. The courtroom was silent as he spoke. I wasn't trying to be brave, Michael said. I just didn't want blood money to pay my mother's life. The verdict shook the industry. Reynolds Construction fined billions families compensated publicly. Safety laws rewritten. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded Michael. Do you regret being honest? One asked. Michael paused. I lost everything twice, he said, but I gained something most people never do, a clean soul. Weeks later, Michael received a letter, not from a company, from the U.S. Department of Justice. They offered him a permanent position as an ethics and compliance advisor, full salary, lifetime health care for his mother, legal protection. On his first day, Sarah smiled and said, Honesty didn't just save you, Michael. It changed the system. Michael stood by the window, looking at the city. He smiled, not because he was rich, but because he knew. Truth may stand alone, but it never stands weak.